All right, we are live. Make sure I get into the chat. Today we got a subject to deal. So a subject to deal is when you're buying a property and you are taking over the ownership of the property by the deed, but you are taking over the underlying loan, the payments for the underlying. Right? So you're buying a property subject to the existing financing. So that's what a subject to deal is. Now, here are some of the details about this deal. So this is for 218 17th Street, Southwest Lehigh. Let's see if we can find this one up. It looks like it's a new build. Okay. Good to know. Is this in a flood zone or anything like that I need to be aware about? That might be touching a flood zone. I probably wouldn't touch this property just based off of that, but you're a little bit further inland. So let's take a look at the rest of the property, right? So this looks like it was getting built and it was built in 2022. Chances are someone bought this property with the intention maybe it was going to go up, but this is probably when it was peaking. So since then, prices have probably stagnated, meaning they haven't gone up as much in this area. And because of the rising insurance costs, maybe it's getting more and more affordable. So for this person, they were trying to sell this property for there's no purchase price there. So I'm assuming they just want this principal balance and this cash close, which I'm assuming is probably like a 10% thing in there. Video. Okay, there's a video. Let's go ahead and see this video. Some garage. Let's see. Anything else we can see inside? Okay, not much here. Just a little hoarding, a little trash dumping. So you gotta carry everything out. Carpet. The floor looks fine. Bathroom looks fine. All right. So not much to maybe I'll just set aside some money to paint the place, but not much rehab besides that. Okay. All right. So now that I got my address and I got a general condition of the property, what I'll then do is look up the fair market rents or the rent ceiling. So this what county is this? County. So control find on a county here. This is Lee County in Florida. So when I Google how to FMR, click on the first link. I'm gonna click on access to small area FMRs. Then I'm going to click on look up FY 2024 FMRs. And again, FMR is standing for fair market rents. And using this approach, I'm going to be able to get by state, by county, and then by zip code and by bedroom count what my maximum rent is for this property. This is 33976. 33976. And you're going to see that a 3-bedroom ceiling rent is going to be 2320. We'll write this one down. 2320. And your 4-bed is going to be 2640. That's for 33976. Just going to write this down. 33976. This is for 3-bed. Okay, now that I got the rents for here, I need to figure out what I'm going to get for this property on a market rent. Okay, because it's 4-bed, 2-bath. So when I go to affordablehousing.com, I'm going to the owner section. I'm going to the market rent estimator, plug in the address, plug in bedroom count, and the most important number right here is going to be this number here on the bottom right. It says that I am pulling right from affordablehousing.com right now. The first website, David, was from HUD FMR. Okay. HUD is the government agency that one also determines what the area median income is, but they also determine what the fair market rents are by area. Now, local municipalities or public housing authorities, they can have the authority to increase the payment standards, which typically includes utilities. Okay. Now, these are the ceiling rents. You don't just underwrite using ceiling rents because you got to compare it to the market rents, right? And I'm going to tell you why in a second. So in this area for 4 bedrooms, your average rent here for 25 units within a 1.56 mile radius is 2333. So I'm going to put that right here, 23333. And I'm writing down all these numbers because my partners already know how I analyze deals. So when I put this in here, it's just super easy for them to kind of keep track, okay? Now, my county rent is 2701. My city rent is 2358. And I just like to have these numbers in here just so it's easy for reference, okay? Now, because I see that my rent my market rent is $23.33 and my ceiling rent is $26.40, I'm going to use the lower of the two. Why? Because first of all, usually the fair market rents that HUD determines includes utilities. So if you don't provide any utilities, you probably have to charge lower rents. Second reason, there's a test. It's called the rent reasonableness test. Okay, and yes, market rent on Zillow and Redfin can definitely work too. So, however, I know from the housing owners I've talked to, whenever they do a quick search, they just come over here and they do a quick search. That's it. Can they go more specific in terms of the amenities and exact factors? Absolutely. But the point of this exercise right now is just to simply figure out whether or not this deal is worth my time to, one, investigate further, meaning I got to underwrite deeper. I got to send some folks out there to get some pictures for myself, or I have to send a contractor out there to get a bid for any renovations on there. So we're going to do a cash flow assessment on this deal first. All right. So what I have pulled up right here, this is the Housing Choice Voucher Program Guidebook. Housing Choice Voucher is what was formerly known as Section 8. The rebranded Section 8 to Housing Choice Voucher to get away from all the negative connotations associated with the word Section 8. All right, in this guidebook, in Section 2.2, if you click on 2.2, there's a test called the Rent Reasonableness Test. All right, in here it says that the PHA, or the Public Housing Authority, must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. This means you can't charge more rent simply because they are a voucher holder. Okay, for obvious reasons, you can't just charge them like, oh, they're a voucher holder and that we're going to charge them more because the government's going to pay the rent. Not going to fly, right? Because you're just not going to pass the rent reasonableness test. Obviously, the size, unit type, right? A condo versus a single family home is going to be very different, but you don't see many 4-bedroom apartments in areas. Like, people just don't build 4-bedroom homes. So I can be pretty confident that for these 25 units are probably single family homes, notwithstanding what difference in amenities there might be in if they're in like gated communities or whatever. Okay. But 1.5 miles is a pretty small radius. Okay. So now that I got my rent and I decided I got to take the lower of the two, right? I'm going to use 2333 as my rent right here for the income. Okay. Now let me show you, based on the details that was disclosed by the wholesaler, how do we plug in all these details? Okay. If you remember, the principal balance of the loan was $358,000. Okay. So I'm going to come over here to the right of the spreadsheet. I want to be in cell K, as in Kappa, 6. I'm going to type in 358000. The interest rate was 4.5%. It's 30 years, 12 payments a year. And this is going to mature in August 1st, 2052. So I'm going to assume to start in 2022, 30 years before, right? Very typical to get a 30-year mortgage. There's no other loans in place. And then what else do I have in here? The cash to close is $34,900. So I'm going to assume $24,900 to cash the seller. And I'm going to assume a $10,000 assignment fee to make it up to $34,900. And then for my other expenses, I'm going to put in 2.5% for closing costs right here. And I got my renovations I'm going to calculate for you guys all right now. Okay. Now this property, I'm only assuming I need to paint the place. That's it. Like some painting and some dumping. That's pretty much 2,163 square feet. Okay. So I go to my rehab calculator and I go to row 86, $2,163, $3 a square foot. That's all I need to paint. That's probably going to cover now some dumping. I got $500 to keep the landscaping clean outside. I got $1,500 for the roof just in case there's any patching that needs to get done, but that's more than enough reserves, and that gives me to roughly a $10,000 rehab. Probably you don't even need that much, but it's good to have that set aside right from the beginning. All right. So next thing is my property tax, right? Remember what has been disclosed to me so far. I've gotten into loan details at $358,000 and interest rate 4.5%. So the calculator is going to calculate the principal portion and the interest portion of the loan. However, we need the taxes and insurance, but they don't break it out like that, right? So when they give me the total PIT of $2,680, so I'm going to go to the property tax line for B28, it goes $2,680. And now I'm going to subtract the principal portion of the loan and then the interest portion of the loan, underlying loan. And this gives me $866 for taxes and insurance. And because of how high insurance has been going up every single year in Florida, I'm going to add extra $50 a month for insurance just to be conservative. so that I can figure out what am I ultimately going to have to pay for my total monthly payment here. All right. And then I'm going to have 10% for my maintenance. So 10% of my money is set aside every single month for maintenance, because we all know that a roof is going to get replaced. And then also we know that the water heater is going to get replaced, roof is going to replace in 10, 15, 20 years, doesn't matter what it is. And the reason I stress this so much is that a lot of people sometimes when they think about cash flow, they just think about the PITI and they subtract the rent. They subtract it from the rent, and that's what they think the cash flow is. But that's not true, right? This money, in my opinion, doesn't belong to you. If you don't set aside this money every single month, right, in 10 years from now, you might have a $20,000 roof replacement in Florida, and then boom, all that extra $200 every single month that you thought you were making, you didn't make any money. So don't be that person. Don't lie to yourself. Make sure you set that money aside. Now, property manager usually 8 to 12%. I got 10% for property manager right here, and I got 5% for vacancy because someone always moves out eventually. So in reality, right, your total PITI was $26.80 and your rent was $23.33. That would have been the first flag for you to stop analyzing the deal. Now, we ran through all the whole exercise for you today is so that you can actually see how far off you are from actually making money. You're not just short a delta of $2,300 and $26.80. That'd be $300. You're short $980 after all the expenses. So that's what I want to drive home today, right? You have a 4-bedroom. You are renting out for $233. You'll be negative cash flow. You'll be losing $980 every single month, and that's a negative 21.5% return. Assuming you bought this property for $358,000 plus the cash or seller of $24,900. Assuming you bought it for $382. Okay, that is not a deal. So to me, that shows me that I don't need to spend my time any further in these items. It sounds like you got some rent recommendations and stuff down on Zillow or PropWire. For me, it's so far off from being a deal that I'm not going to spend my time, right? Because our time, our energy is so precious. If you do this enough times and you get that experience and you figure out like, okay, I can spot a deal from really far away now just by looking at some general numbers, or I can spot what's not a deal, and I can just stop analyzing deals, right? So if you guys want to copy the spreadsheet, right, go to affordablehousing.io. If you go to affordablehousing.io, not .com, go to affordablehousing.io, click on the Get Deal Analysis tool, put in your name, your email, your phone number. I promise I won't spam you. That's how you get a copy of the spreadsheet. My ultimate goal for you today is to, one, just copy my homework today. Look at the same deal I analyzed today using the same details right here. I don't care if you screenshot it. It doesn't matter to me. And put it on your own YouTube channel. Because at that point in time, you're going to start building a track record on your own YouTube channel that you know what you're doing, that you can truly understand and have confidence in yourself to pull that trigger when the time comes. Obviously, this is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call. I'm simply showing you all the work I'm doing every single day to stay consistent and, most importantly, get the practice in so that I can get the reps in and be consistent. And just remember, all it takes is just 18 minutes a day. For 18 minutes a day, for 365 days, you will be better at analyzing deals than 95% of the country. So put in the work. Don't tell people you're consistent. Show them that you're consistent. And if you're really shy, just put it on your own YouTube channel as unlisted, so you don't really show it to anybody or it's not out to the public. But just understand, no one's probably looking at it, right? We're not that famous. We're just trying to get better. We're trying to get 1% better every single day together. All right. So I hope you all found this useful today. I hope you guys have an amazing Saturday. I hope you guys spend some quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. And I will be back here again tomorrow for day 288. Have an amazing day, everybody. Good stuff. All right. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for participating live. David, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Have a good one.